Kirk Frost, who has been the focus of years of controversy, just prevailed in court, but at what cost? Despite Kirk's enjoyment, Jasmine's entire world has collapsed. Secrets have been revealed, and the courtroom and the public have been shaken by unforeseen developments. You won't believe how completely this legal battle changed everything. With Kirk Frost's long history of being associated with controversy, scandal, and court drama, from his well-publicized marriage to Rasheeda to the shocking outcome of this verdict, I'm wondering why Jasmine's life is in ruins and why fallout is something no one saw coming. His relationship with Jasmine Washington has been developing in real life like a soap opera, but this most recent court decision has caught everyone off guard just when we thought it was over. Although Kirk Frost has now officially won in court, many people were not aware of his triumph. Rapidly coming, but Jasmine is going through one of the most trying times in her life. The financial setback, the emotional toll, and the deeper truths that surfaced during this legal battle have left her completely in turmoil. How did Kirk win this case? What was the precise objective of this legal battle? And most importantly, what to appreciate the significance of this legal battle? We must go back to the beginning of the affair that shocked reality TV fans and almost put an end to Jasmine's relationship with the child at the center of this whole story. This story is far from ended, I assure you, so you don't want to miss a thing. Even though being in the spotlight comes with its share of highs and lows, Kirk Frost and his wife Rasheeda were regarded as one of the most successful couples on Love and Hip Hop Atlanta for years. Until Jasmine Washington made an incredible disclosure in 2017, they appeared to be inseparable. Marriage in its purest form, Jasmine, a young model, claimed to have been secretly seeing Kirk for nearly a year. It was even more stunning when she claimed to have given birth to Kirk's son, a boy named Cannon. At the start of the rumors, Kirk denied everything and refused to acknowledge the child or Jasmine. As the fans sought answers, the issue worsened when Jasmine took Kirk to court to obtain child support and legal recognition for their child. Kirk was in a difficult situation at this time, and the drama was getting hotter both on and off screen. When the moment for the truth finally arrived, Kirk's paternity test confirmed what many had suspected. The discovery that Frost was the father changed the course of events. It was no longer just a scandal, but a full-fledged legal battle that would last for years and include Kirk and Jasmine in court. However, this is where things get interesting. What began as a dispute over child support swiftly got out of hand, and the lawsuit wasn't merely. It had evolved into something far more significant, with significant legal implications for both parties. Money was no longer the only factor. A final decision years later stunned everyone. How did Kirk change the court case, and why does Jasmine suffer the most from this outcome? This brings us to the startling details of when Jasmine Washington. She had evidence of their relationship, a child, which Kirk had initially denied, and the backing of those who were furious about Kirk's actions. So she thought she had the upper hand when she first sued him. However, a brief court battle that began as a straightforward issue swiftly escalated into one that left both parties. Jasmine had given up on pursuing justice. Since coming out, Jasmine has insisted that Kirk be held accountable for their son. She wanted financial help, but she also wanted official proof that Kirk was Cannon's father. Her case seemed strong at first since she had witnesses, pictures, and text messages that might establish their connection, but Kirk wasn't about to give up easily. To refute Jasmine's claims, his legal team used every resource at their disposal. Initially, Jasmine disputed her charges as untrue, even implying that she was, and Kirk's denial and strategic defense failed to acknowledge all. For months, they attempted to coerce him into paying them money, but he refused to take a DNA test. But Jasmine wasn't giving up. In the end, Kirk was compelled to do so by public pressure and legal action, and many believed that Kirk was the father of Cannon when the results revealed that, wouldn't that stop it? Kirk would have stepped up, accepted responsibility, and given Jasmine the money she asked for. But instead of giving up, he initiated a daring and unexpected legal action. An unforeseen turn of events occurs when Kirk retaliates after the DNA test confirms his paternity. In order to deny Jasmine's claims, he later brought his own case, claiming that she had purposefully misled him about their relationship and casting doubt on the legality of her child support requests. According to his legal team, Jasmine was requesting excessive amounts of money, and her accusations were overblown. They also raised the question of whether Kirk was Jasmine's only employer, pointing out that she had reportedly dated other men during that time. As the lawsuit progressed, Jasmine accused Kirk of attempting to destroy her life and evade his paternal duties, and there were personal assaults. Kirk's team gave a bad impression of Jasmine as a scammer who had treated him as a simple target for money. But the greatest blow of all was about to be delivered to Jasmine. The court ultimately rendered a decision that crushed her after years of back-and-forth legal processes. The terrible fallout from Kirk Frost's huge triumph would fall on Jasmine. What specifically was the court's decision, and the story takes a remarkable turn that trembles the courtroom when the judge finally signs off. Jasmine Washington lost a battle she never imagined being in despite countless hours of work to strive for justice. How did Kirk become stronger than before he left this situation? Kirk Frost's legal team crafted a case that challenged Jasmine's financial claims, arguing that she had exaggerated the amount of help she needed in a calculated approach that ultimately worked to his advantage. Even if the DNA test proved his paternity, how did they win? Lifestyle, online persona, and previous partnerships, claiming that she didn't need much of Kirk's financial support to support herself and their child. The court determined that the judge had agreed with Kirk on a significant technicality rather than merely lowering the child support payments, which is where the situation took an unexpected turn. Jasmine's initial claims were based on estimates rather than real spending, and the judge's decision alone was devastating because it found that she had not presented sufficient, trustworthy evidence of her financial need. However, the judge's ultimate ruling was to not only provide Jasmine significantly less assistance than she had asked for, but she would also be responsible for part of Kirk's legal bills. This was a major blow because Jasmine had been fighting for financial justice for years, and now she was frantically paying off debt instead of having security. Her life was falling apart in front of her eyes, and she couldn't believe it. She had a public breakdown because of this. Had happened, she had entered the courtroom anticipating a significant win, a financial decision in her favor, full custody rights, and Kirk's public admission of his wrongdoing. She left with only heartache and legal expenses, but her annoyance soon became public fury, which she expressed on social media. She wrote, "I fought for my son. I fought for what was right, and in the end, money and power won. They always do." In one of her most emotional posts, she berated the media for deceiving her into believing that justice was on her side. Her admirers and supporters rushed to her defense. Her post received a lot of supportive comments from people who accused the legal system of favoring wealthy men and denying single mothers the justice they need. Others, however, noted that Jasmine may have been hurt by her prior choices and social media presence and questioned whether she had handled the situation inappropriately. Jasmine's credibility in court was damaged by the strain of the legal proceedings, and there were claims that she was having financial difficulties and couldn't afford the legal fees and the cost of raising her child alone. If Jasmine thought it couldn't get much worse, she was mistaken. Some stories claim that she even faced the possibility of losing her house. What Kirk is going to do next? Rather than reaching a confidential agreement with Jasmine, Kirk requested legal limitations that would keep her from discussing him and their legal battle in public. When everyone thought Kirk would quietly move on from the matter, it was a final betrayal. According to Kirk's staff, who wanted her to keep quiet, Jasmine had ruined Kirk's reputation, disparaged him, and persisted in creating needless drama in spite of the court's decision. In the event that the judge granted his motion, Jasmine would be legally prohibited from discussing their previous relationship, their kid, or the court case ever again. This was the final straw. Betrayal after losing the case and losing money. Jasmine was in risk of being completely silenced. Although Kirk seemed to want to completely shut her out of his life, Jasmine was not going down without a fight. Would she violate the law and run into more issues? Would she share any further information? Jasmine, who doesn't back down easily, wasn't going to remain silent in the face of the awful court ruling, the mounting legal bills, and the potential loss of her platform. She utilized social media to get revenge on Kirk because she had endured too much and battled too hard to simply walk away. But would she ultimately give up and vanish from the public eye? Jasmine fought her battle on social media, the court of public opinion, as she had no other legal choices. If the courts didn't, the people may pay attention. They asked me to keep quiet when she started posting vague references to unknown Kirk secrets. One post in particular gained a lot of online attention. Her comments caused a lot of speculation online about what else she would reveal. What did she mean when she said that ultimately the truth would come to light? Bloggers, influencers, and online critics quickly began to pay attention to her posts and began dissecting every word. Even though they don't know me, they wanted me to leave. I have not yet completed it. Jasmine had spent the weeks after the ruling preparing a cover interview called Jasmine's Truth Unfiltered. Some thought she was just trying to stay relevant after losing in court, while others thought she had more explosive information about Kirk that might harm his reputation forever. A well-known blogger who was known for exposing celebrities sat down with Jasmine for a surprise interview, and it wasn't your typical social media tirade. This was an intentional attempt to control her tale. She was honest about how Kirk's legal defense had let her down as a mother. The real shock came when she accused Kirk of covertly participating in unethical business methods during the legal battle, paying off people to discredit her and ensure his triumph. Through the use of funds and connections, the group had influenced the result and stopped her from expressing her story. Kirk made sure he had the right people in his pocket, and I know that money talks, even though she listed names. The interview altered the course of events by creating a renewed interest in the case and portraying Jasmine as a victim of an untrustworthy system. She was approached by others who had previously questioned her, who demanded that Kirk respond to her charges. This time, Jasmine cornered him. The charges were too serious to ignore, so his PR team rushed to break the rumors with a well-written statement. Kirk Frost had spent years carefully managing his public persona. He was used to controversy, but always managed to keep the story in check. The statement denied Jasmine's claims, describing them as desperate lies and charging her with spreading lies to win others over. It brought to light a number of issues, including the question, if Jasmine was lying, why wouldn't Kirk address it directly? Why wasn't he taking legal action against her for it? Kirk remained silent. Libel. The longer Kirk remained silent, the more people believed Jasmine's charges had some merit, and the internet never forgets that. Then, just when it seemed that there was no more possible dirtiness, the most surprising thing occurred. A new woman came forward and exposed yet another treachery. This woman, who had never previously discussed Kirk in public, made a startling revelation about him and shared a mysterious message online that sent social media into a tizzy. Because they only knew a portion of it, many started to wonder who this woman was, what she was suggesting, and whether Kirk had. Within a few hours, there were rumors that this woman had dated Kirk before, which would have provided more insight into his past. At this time, Kirk Frost was dealing with a full-blown controversy, and whether his reputation survives or not will depend on how the final meeting turns out. When he was revealed in a well-known interview, the internet demanded an explanation, and a new mysterious woman implied that there was more to the story. Would Kirk's long-cultivated public image be irrevocably damaged by the incident, or would he finally come forward and defend himself? Representation of success, power, and domination. Notwithstanding previous controversies, he had consistently bounced back and maintained his standing in the business and entertainment sectors. Things were different this time, though, because of the emotional impact of Jasmine's interview. People weren't content to speculate about Kirk. They wanted answers to the court's charges. Big gossip blogs took up the topic, each adding their own twist as social media erupted in disputes due to the misleading manipulation and silencing tactics. The rise of hashtags like Number Justice for Jasmine and Number Kirk Frost Exposed caused those who had previously supported Kirk to suddenly turn against him. Kirk knew he couldn't remain silent indefinitely as the pressure mounted on him, but before he could even come up with a counterargument, more charges and a history of dishonesty were revealed online. It was eventually revealed that the woman who had alluded to other mysteries was Tanya Mitchell. When I saw Jasmine's interview, it was like seeing it again. Tanya posted an emotional Instagram post discussing the manipulation, the legal threats, and how he makes you feel. In order to support her assertion that she and Kirk had a previous relationship years before Jasmine became involved, Tanya produced receipts. You're crazy since that's the identical strategy he employed on me. However, she didn't stop there. Tanya revealed old emails and texts that purportedly showed Kirk bullying her about their previous relationship by leveraging his wealth and influence. Emails seemed to show Kirk really giving her hush money, even though some of them implied he had threatened to do so. Legal action should she ever attempt to make him public. This no longer reflected the viewpoint of one woman against Kirk, but rather an unavoidable pattern. As Tanya's confessions stoke the fires and nearly destroy Kirk's reputation, the public relations team goes into overdrive. He quickly brought in his public relations team to keep the damage from becoming out of control. After first disputing all of Tanya's allegations, a spokesperson referred to them as unfounded and an attempt to use an old relationship for political gain. Following their onslaught, they spread rumors through information leaks from unnamed sources. Most people didn't think it was true. If Kirk wasn't at fault, why didn't he just make plain denials? What made him rely on ambiguous PR statements? Defamation websites claimed that Tanya and Jasmine had orchestrated the whole incident for publicity and that both women were attempting to extract money from Kirk. According to unidentified sources, Kirk's quiet only served to heighten suspicions until Jasmine's last move. The tell-all shocked everyone. If Kirk's team wanted to portray her as dishonest, Jasmine wouldn't allow them to fabricate a story to support him. Instead, she was prepared to take a big chance when she declared, with this in-depth, frank interview, she was going mainstream. This time with a much larger media outlet, instead of just sitting down with a blogger. Was it going to be just another social media tirade? It was her opportunity to humiliate Kirk in front of millions of people on a major stage, and the interview was shocking when it was released. Presented documents that suggested their tumultuous court battle and audio recordings of heated discussions demonstrated how Kirk allegedly forced her behind the scenes. She talked about every facet of her relationship with Kirk, including their early romance and the contentious legal battle. Evidence from secret financial dealings that she said Kirk had lied to win the case. The public's instant shock caused even some who had previously supported Kirk to start doubting what Jasmine had stated. People started to turn against Kirk, and his reputation was destroyed. Jasmine made the unpleasant and quick revelation. Kirk, who was formerly seen as an untouchable businessman and reality TV star, was suddenly the target of unprecedented public outrage. Fans flooded his social media accounts with comments calling on him to respond to the charges, while sponsors pulled out businesses that had collaborated with him in secret, distanced themselves from him in order to avoid being linked to his escalating scandal. When reporters attempted to contact Kirk, he declined to provide a statement. In addition, his marriage to Rasheeda was under investigation. They had established a reputation for their bond over the years, but now people were curious about her level of knowledge. As if things couldn't get much worse, Kirk was hit with a lawsuit that could end his career. Despite the backlash from the public, Jasmine took a chance. Had she helped cover up Kirk's alleged shortcomings? Would Rasheeda be there for Kirk no matter what, or was she ready to go on? She accused Kirk of slander, emotional distress, and financial damages in her second complaint. This time, accountability for everything she had gone through was more important than custody. Her legal team issued a statement saying, "Jasmine has been silent for too long and has been threatened and intimidated." The lawsuit sent shockwaves through the industry, and if Jasmine won, it could mean serious financial and reputational damage for Kirk. And with public sentiment already turning against him, he was in a vulnerable position. And manipulation, but now she is ready to fight back with the full force of the law. For the first time in his career, Kirk found himself in a real bind as the world looked on. Whether he would defend the lawsuit in court or reach a settlement to end the matter was one worry. It becomes evident that this was the start of Kirk's, the most significant conflict for Frost.